Notes up.
All right, and we are live. Welcome to the BrainDrive weekly dev call live stream. We do these calls every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, where we cover the development update on progress from last week and plan out the coming week. Our mission here at BrainDrive is to build a superior user-owned AI system to big tech AI systems. I'm Dave Waring, and I handle the operations side here at BrainDrive.
And I'm Dave Jones, and I handle the technical side of the operations here.
Great. So, BrainDrive is our MIT licensed self-hosted AI platform that you're looking at on the screen now. So, as you can see, we have a ChatGPT style interface, but there's a huge difference between BrainDrive and ChatGPT in that you own and control this. Everything you see here is running on my computer. You can even run AI models locally on your computer without even needing an internet connection. And this system that Dave has built for us is a modular plugin based architecture. So you can build and launch your own plugins and deploy those on any GitHub. So you're not stuck with any sort of big tech app store lock in or extraction. You can build plugins for things like, obviously chats and specialized chats, etc., but also even things like AI powered games. Really, any interface that you want to build that is built that you want to use with AI, and you can set up your own pages. There's a page builder here that's a drag and drop. What you see is what you get. Editor, we have personas, which allows you to add custom system prompts. I had to wipe my machine before this as I was working on some things. So usually there would be personas here. And everything is built to be under your ownership and control. No censorship, no big tech control. It's all your AI, your rules. And for anyone who's interested, we have a doc site over at docs.braindrive.ai. Hit that owner's manual button. It'll show you all about BrainDrive. Click the build plugins. You can get started building plugins. This is our quick start. You can be up and running building plugins in 30 minutes or less. We have our roadmap here so you can view how we're thinking about building this superior user owned AI system and our vision for that and learn how to get involved. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dave to update us on the development progress from last week.
Okay, for those who have been watching at home, we first did a RAG system, for lack of better words, just on my base environment, and that was probably 4 weeks ago now. And which on my base environment is Windows on a front end and has Ubuntu on a back end. And it ran smoothly. It did everything we wanted. However, that is a isolated environment where most of our users are not. Most of our users sit on either a Windows or Mac. So we immediately started porting everything over to both Windows and Mac. Last week, I believe we did the Windows. And for those of you, if you don't want to go watch the previous video, it took about 20 minutes to completely install everything from if I didn't have BrainDrive to now you have
Oops.
RAG.
Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. It happens. So in this week of porting the current status of RAG over to Mac to install, pleasantly discovered it moves much faster on the install. And in fact, it was so fast, when it worked the first time, I was like, this didn't work. Because it went from 15, 16 minutes to 2. And all I run, this is on a mini Mac, and I was like, there's no way. So for those of you who use Macs, you will notice some speed that I just can't explain
And
right
it
off the
really
bat.
feels like Macs are becoming, if you're not on Linux, Macs are really where the local AI, self-hosted AI movement's happening.
Yeah. So there are some advantages there. I will admit it, being an Ubuntu and Windows user, that Mac install was just kind of, I just have to get used to cut and pasting on a Mac. That's my probably, and how to restart. For some reason, there's no like restart button, but I'll get to asking Dave that later. Because I went to restart for almost the first time without it saying you have to do something. And I was like, how do you do this? And you look up in Google, and that was worthless. So I'll get to my education after the
Yeah.
podcast on how do you do this on a Mac. So we'll share my screen really quick, and we will go through a complete install of the RAG system on a Mac. And this is, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, because it went blank, and oh, that was just the web page that went blank. Okay. I have it set up here for a reason on my mini Mac, of course, and like a lot of people, you may not have um, an LLM running locally on that machine. It does take some horsepower to do it, so a lot of people, you just on a laptop, no real graphics card, and you'll have to port out to something else to do it. This is a very good example of how that's done. I do not have an Llama on this mini Mac. I have it sitting on another server in my house. But you could also use an Open Router API key at this point and direct things there. I just wanted to show a demonstration of that the Llama isn't running here, so we'll be doing all our inferencing and AI talk on another machine, but we will be running BrainDrive here on the mini Mac completely, both the front end and the back end. So we'll go forward with that really quick. Let me grab my little link because, of course, I didn't have that handy, even though I'm doing a Mac install. Let's go Dave Jones, boop, repos, and copy link. Okay, just like the Windows install, it's simple. You go to the plugin manager, you go to install, uh, simply put in your favorite little link of whatever you're trying to install.
And
As
this is the GitHub link for your
yep,
deployment that you've built. Right now, this is on Dave's personal GitHub, but we'll be moving that over to the BrainDrive GitHub soon.
yeah, and you'll need to watch for that because that will be the start of us having work in progress type plugins, where we're in progress of working on them. Either another user, like one of our teams, or we may have a contractor or ourselves working on a plugin that's not quite ready for prime time. You'll see a little word or a blurb in the name, just readily and visibly can see that's not a production ready item. So if you want to dare and get on the bleeding edge of what we're doing, it's possible. But for right now, I just was like, I'm going to do this on my repo to keep it away from people who stumble into the repo and go, oh my God, let me install RAG. And this is broke.
And you can follow along with progress and where we're at with everything over at our community forums at community.braindrive.ai as well. Forgot to mention that in the
Yep.
intro.
Um, and if you don't know how to get there, once you install BrainDrive down at the bottom, let's say at the very bottom of here, there we go. We know where the community is, you know where our docs are very easily, no matter where you are in BrainDrive, and you can jump over here and also go to our community. Doesn't matter where you're at on BrainDrive. So if you're ever like, oh my God, where do I go? You can just go there. For installing plugins, though, it is very simple. One click. This will move rather quickly. The only part this will actually install will be the settings module for the RAG, and then it tapers off and puts two services on our back end, so it can install for us. Um, this was one where I was doing the testing. I'll just do a demo. You can easily get rid of it right there. This is running right now. We are going to make a few polishing changes to this RAG system. Right now we're just wrapping up getting the Mac version working. And next will come some polishing, like so you can see on the task manager. Right now it just sits there. It tells you it's running, but there's nothing on the screen to kind of, okay, it is running type stuff. And then we'll get to the other screen and I'll show you where some other polishing will come later on. But overall, this does not take very long compared to the Windows environment. I believe on Dave's machine, at best, this took 2 minutes, and I think on this one it takes three. And this is only a Mac Mini. I want to stress that. Your microphone's muted.
So what's it installing right now, right?
Oh,
Because you have
yeah.
to have the back end, right? The front
Yep.
end is already done, right? Like
Yep, the
the
front
the
end's done,
rag.
and we'll be able to see that in a minute. On the
Yep.
back end, there are two services that run. And currently, right now, it's the document chat. And whenever you go into AI chat, where we'll do for the demo, um, it will first reach out to document chat service. It will say, hey, the user here is looking for this type of information. Do we have anything in the database that they have chunked up prior to this and that we could offer to help ground the conversation into some actual data and not rely
Right. So
completely
it's
on.
installing that database and that
Yep,
mechanism for chunking and embedding in the database on your computer so it's under your full ownership and
yep.
control. And that's why it
It,
takes a little while to download because
yeah,
that's a pretty
yeah,
hefty process.
yeah. It has to not only download all the repo, but then it has to install all the dependencies. And then the second service is document processing. This is so that no matter what kind of document, one of many, could be a PDF, Markdown, JSON, text. There's a quite wide list of what DocLink can take. And when you hand it, this service right now, the document processing says, okay, we're going to change this over to a Markdown, which almost any AI can read. And so we went with that format. And from there, it says, okay, let's now chunk this up. And there are some parameters that are right now in the config files that says XYZ. We will expose them so you can actually have some more control over determining how large chunks are token wise. We might get to the point where we have actually where you can put code in place to say, no, this is how I want it to handle things. And so that you can simply have a drop down that says, no, we're going to chunk like XYZ. And then the further to-do list down the road, I would love to see it so that no, you don't have to pick one embedding model for everything. You can simply pick one embedding model for how you want to handle this document collection group. And then for another one, there might be a better model for handling it, and you would have that option to be able to change between the two. Because with chunking and embedding, you have to maintain whatever you use to chunk up the data, you have to use when you want to use the data. If you switch, it's like you use an old model to chunk, and you wanted to say, I want to use this new one now to access it, you wouldn't be able to. You'd have to actually rechunk your data with the new model for it to have any valid use and get any responsible answer back.
Got it. Looks like we're installed there.
Yep. And I said, this doesn't take but 2 to 3 minutes and it's done on the Mac. And
And
if you
that's a
want to time it,
one-time thing. Now you're
yep.
done.
Yeah, a one-time thing. Now you're done. Uh, we will move over here to the settings because we do have to make some changes. Um, we do get a third one now. These are the RAG service controls. These are the controls or properties that you can change based on how your system's set up. So we're not trying to come in this kind of like blind, like everybody's gonna have the same, trying to
Freedom.
give, yep, freedom. Uh, and as I showed on the LLM provider on the previous screen before the install started, it's actually reaching out and accepting what I have in there as what's my Olama server. And so that I can come through. These are the models. I simply for the LLM provider, I go with let's go to here. I use Nomic. This is a much better model I found to use for embedding, especially on a llama, because it has some constraints so that you don't have to kind of go in there and tinker with them. It just, if you select this one and that's auto selected when you actually install by default, and you're free to change afterwards. You have complete freedom over, that's why these are exposed. You say, I like XYZ, you can use XYZ. You like ABC, use ABC. If you've trained your own model, you can slide it in there and use it. We're not stopping
Nice.
you from anything.
Freedom.
And yep, it comes down to freedom. And then I don't have anything selected here. I'm not going to because it just slows down. But this for contextual retrieval, which actually helps give just a little bit more crisper answer, you can go down and select this. But I'm not going to have it selected, and we won't have to worry about that. And we're not doing evaluations at this time. And as you'll see, but there's nothing here. These deal with mainly just connectivity, but when we get to that processing and the ability to select a different method of chunking, this is where you'll see these start to populate. Now I've made some changes here, and the first thing you need to do, of course, is save it. I like to run this just because I have it set up that if it doesn't find certain things, it will automatically come up not running. And plus I saved it so it instantly recognized that, hey, I have a different config file than what was there. So I just add a habit, I stop it. This is another opportunity for me to polish in the next few days like that will be, I really at the end of the day, this should tell you more visibly that the model's running or that the service is running or not. You shouldn't have to click health unless you want to. And then B, there should be some indicator that says when I click stop right here, it should say, hey, I'm working and I'm stopping. And then when it's done, so that you don't have to guess, because right now even I'm guessing on what it's doing. So I just simply click start now, because I know it doesn't take too long to stop it. And right now it's like I could keep clicking start all day long and it doesn't do anything extra. But I do like to go through and check. It does take a minute. I like to make sure everything's running. It does take, I think, the pillboxes right there, and it's still not starting.
Mhm.
Sometimes it takes a minute. It does have to go through and check your llama, what it's doing, and everything like that. And this will be the day it breaks on me. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, of course, live demo.
Yeah, it goes live because I can't tell you how many times I've installed this since Dave seen it like that, just to make sure you go through everything. And it
That's
is
one of the
going.
things I was gonna ask you is like, because that's why my brain drive wasn't ready, is I'm trying to get like a fresh
Yep.
experience on the install. But of course, I already have all the dependencies and everything. So anyway, longer discussion.
Yeah. Yep. That usually means that it did something I like. There we go. Now
There
we're
we go.
running. Yep. It just like it usually takes it a minute to go through. And especially with the Llama being a reach out,
But
it
now that
probably.
that started, it's like it's going, and you're not gonna have to go through that again.
Yes, exactly. This is now running. I really can just close this up. I am done with this portion of the program. But now to the reason why we all come here. Let's see some RAG work. We'll go ahead and get rid of my little conversations that I have because we don't need them. There's RAG. This is how you access the collections. I currently have no collections, and I have no collections at all yet because I just installed, and everybody will start here. Um, just create a collection. I will go to my customary T1, which is usually just our white paper. It will automatically select the uh, whatever collection you just created. That will come to auto select for you. I come down here. You can see it's checked. Just another little visual indicator that you have selected that. This is where I manage the documents. Click to upload. We will go to my favorite. Where are you? Oh, there you are. I select white paper. Let's open it.
This is our
It
vision document, which you can see
Yep.
on the forum as well. Community.braindrive.ai.
Yep. And it automatically uploads it right then and there. You can do multiple selections on files. I have done all 8 of them that are in there before. It just takes a little longer than for a
So
demo.
this is pulling, this is, extracting the text and tables and blah, blah,
Yep.
blah from the document,
Yes.
chunking it up.
Yeah, whatever it was, even though this is a markdown, it still goes through the data document processing because whether you start with a markdown or a PDF, it still has to chunk it up, find out all the data that it needs to categorization, keywords, all the metadata that goes related with that, and then hand it back to the document chat and then put it in your vector database.
Right.
And that's what happens right there. And
And that
it
was
basically,
fast.
yeah, no, it runs pretty smoothly. I'm
All
very,
local under your complete
yep.
ownership and control and privacy. You could do
If
this offline if you wanted
if it
to.
wasn't for us doing a video and Dave in another state than where I'm at, we could just pull a cord and say we can do this locally and not worry about anything. There's nothing telling you what you can and can't have for data in there. Your mileage may vary as you play and develop and really experiment. And we're going to open up and expose more of those parameters for you to play with so that if you get some interesting little pieces of data that doesn't look right the first time, there's nothing stopping you from trashing that collection and redoing it with another piece of parameters. And then as you're going to see what we're going to do here, just develop whatever little test you have. Like this is my constant. When I put in the white paper, I always put in what is BrainDrive.
And it has to
And
initially load up your local
Yep,
models and everything. So it's going to take a minute. But once you get chatting and the models are loaded and
yep.
everything, and actually, that was pretty fast.
Yeah, no, because and I'll tell everybody, I've selected 3B models the whole way through, minus the embedding.
And
And
if you're
this,
if you're chatting with, a relatively small set of documents, like that 3B model, 3 billion
yep,
parameter model will run on pretty much any modern
yep.
laptop. So you're good.
Yeah, and that was and I don't do it just to make the demo go faster for people to see. I do it because responsibly, most average users do not sit there with large video cards or large inferencing type memory where you could run a 32B style model or even 70B. So the average person, you'll be sitting on a smaller model, and this is the quality that you can get out of it. It's not just grounded in how it was trained. The Llama 3.2 been out for what, 6+ months. So the data is at least that, if not more. And yet I can use RAG to update its information for whatever topic or knowledge base that I desire to create it and leverage the AI with my data and get actual content back that I can use. I do not have the persona handy that I use for the Windows, but if you go back and check the Windows, you can easily see the difference now adding persona could make to your entire
Yeah,
system.
so right now it's just pulling with the system prompt that's normally
Yep,
with the AI. It has nothing about brain drive, and you see you have a great answer here. But if you wanted to add a persona, put a
yep,
custom system prompt in that says you're here to help people research and review brain drive and learn about and support people who are using the brain drive system. Here's what the brain drive system is, and you're going to improve these answers
yep.
dramatically over what you're just going to get vanilla. Although this is really good. This is a
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. The key, like the thing about this, I love to show, demonstrate is out of the box with nothing fancy whatsoever other than I installed it by adding one link. I put one document in there, and this is the quality answer I got out of a 6 month old model, a 3B style that most people are not even using for anything responsible at the end of the day. Most people are saying, yeah, I want to run 70B or the new Grok model or whatever. It's like this is something outdated a little bit, and yet you can create it and use it as a key piece of whatever workflow you have to turn your knowledge base into something more usable for your end output.
Right, right. Cool. This is
And
awesome.
and that's rad.
This is the final piece of the foundation of Brain Drive here.
Yep.
So we still have a lot of work to do. We still have a lot of polishing we want to do, but
At the
zero
end
to
of the
one,
day,
baby.
RAG works.
Yeah, 0 to 1. Like we're here. This is awesome.
There we go.
Great. Anything else you want to show this week or discuss about
No,
from what we
that well, we're discussing. We do have some polishing, as I pointed out, and the ability to update because the previous RAG system we had took a lot of hand holding to do updates. I've already figured out how that's going to work. It's not going to be rocket science. Just like the stops and starts, a little polishing for the user to see what's going on behind the scenes without having to go behind the scenes.
and that's
Um,
this week, correct?
yeah, yeah, exactly. That's moving into this week. And then we're going to start getting into logging because that will be come right on top of that is the ability for if the system notices something that it shouldn't be there, is wrong in its opinion. And I say it like it's a living being, but that's kind of how I think about it. It's like it can easily create a log for you to take a look at. Maybe if you're skilled enough or want to try, you can try to fix it. Or if you're trying to say, hey, this is a bug, and to convey the information to us on an issue in GitHub, you can just give me the log and throw that up there, and we'll have as much information as needed without exposing things like API keys, your IP as much as possible. It just really all we need to know is what's wrong with BrainDrive.
Yeah, and
We don't.
we really want to be able to support Brain Drive owners, which we call you owners, not users,
Yep.
because you are an owner of Brain Drive. But it's tricky because everything's running locally and privately on your computer. So unlike a normal SaaS tool, like we don't have access to all your
Yep.
stuff. So what Dave's talking about is a way that if you do run into an issue with Brain Drive, you can click a button, generate what we would be looking at if we were a SaaS, a software as a service product that we were hosting and controlling and everything. So we need to have that mechanism in there so we can still support everyone, even though this is running privately on your own computer. And then you decide whether you want to send us that information or not, or what information you want to send us. We're not just in your system messing around with
Yeah,
it.
yeah, and if you go to the profile now on BrainDrive, at the very bottom of the profile, you'll see the infancy of this starting to be created because it gives you the system. You just click Open System Information, and it will start to show you the information that we're going to attempt to have you offer to us because we're not going to take it. You're not. It's not going to be blind at all, and you'll see because basically what it tells us is, hey, I have BrainDrive installed. What do I have it kind of installed on? What versions do I have up to what commit on on the BrainDrive repo? What plugins do you have installed? What versions of them are installed? At no point is it your personal data. I'm not worried about what your last chat was. That doesn't matter either. We're more worried about is you had a problem XYZ and what components were involved. So that way when we try to say, hey, what's wrong with this? I can make sure that I have all these plugins installed. I have them matching up to the versions that you have. I can walk through what you did and get the same error you have because that isolates the time needed to debug something amazingly, other than some screen was broke. Now, I can tell, as somebody who's been developing for a long time, and with people giving you issues, you don't know how many times I don't remember the screen, but it was broke. And there's not much you can do with that. So, um, the one of the focuses now that we're going to start moving into, as we got the foundation done, is the ability for people to say, "Hey, I have an issue," and for us to have a responsible way for you to deliver the needed information without you being technical.
Great. All right, awesome. So, in terms of for next week, what are we hoping to have accomplished?
I would love to see the pour and polished, I call it, of like the rag system. That needs to be, like I said, if I click a button, I need to know that it's working. I need to know that it's doing something. I would love to see an addition on the chat BrainDrive chat sometimes. How many seconds something is taking for, down to the milliseconds for the first token, for the complete run through, how much time is RAG taking versus inferencing on for the actual prompt, those kind of things, a little more information to the user, and even me, because we're now going to get to the point it works. Now we got to start stress testing. What's the difference between me putting in one document, 25 documents, 50 documents? So we can start measuring the pain points there and what can we do to help contain those pain points as much as possible. And it'll vary based on system to system, but at least if we know and we have done our diligence on expediting and cleaning up as much as possible, we're just being responsible software vendors on that point.
Okay, so from the reviewing that we've done of this so far, from my side, the things that I remember are being able to remove a collection. Right
Yep,
now, you
yep,
can't do that,
yep.
correct?
Yep,
Okay,
and
so
that'll be easy. That'll be a cleanup. It's just a matter, like I said, these little things of just finer execution.
yeah, and then so being able to remove a collection, I know this is a small thing, but I think it's important is the are you sure you want to do this when you're changing an embedding model? Because
Yep.
like Dave was saying in the demo, if
It,
you have a bunch of documents and you change your embedding model, that's a big deal.
exactly. We will eventually get to the point where you can have multiple, but for right now, that little "are you sure?" so people understand the ramifications of just, oh, let's check this out.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I know you've brought up every time you've shown it is having some indicators
Hmm.
of what's happening.
Yep. Is it working versus I don't know if it's working?
You're right. The other thing I think we need to think, all those things I think are just straightforward, but something I think we need to think a little bit about, I don't know if you have any ideas on, is right now it looks like RAG is installed
Yep.
when you install the plugin,
Yeah.
but that's really just the front end and the back end stuff. So I don't know if we can put a message there or how.
We have to have, because we talked about this before, open up a little communication line between the install system so that the RAG plugin will be special in the fact it has a message to convey. So when it gets finished with doing its initial install, I have the plugin installed that you're going to be operating on. At this point, it can send a message back that says, I've completed the plugin install. However, you have two services that are still being installed. You can look at the task menu to see what their progress is on completing that. And please do not use the RAG system until they're finished.
Okay.
Those kind of things.
Um, that and then so I don't know how difficult this is, but this is a basically we had another developer working on a RAG system.
Yep.
We didn't quite get there. Dave, instead of just taking that over and reworking it, kind of rebuilt things from the ground up. But there is some things like the eval system, which we
Yep.
eventually want to have that are still present in this plugin.
Yep.
I don't know how difficult this is, but my preference would be if something is not working yet, that we just don't have it displayed on the front end.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Under where do we have it, Val? I've seen it. It was on the plugin that we were talking about it.
Yeah, so yeah, when
Okay.
you go to
Yeah.
the settings page of the RAG
Oh,
system,
yep, yep.
there's several fields there that I don't think we're ready
Oh,
to
that's right.
use
The
yet.
evaluation. Yeah. So we should probably just, yeah, as you said, hide that until they come out. And odds are, in my head, the entire evaluation probably won't be in this anyways, because it has nothing to do with RAG. Evaluation will probably be, I want to install the evaluation plugin so that I can see evaluations for the
Yeah.
user that wants to deal with that. And that way, because like your average user, they're not going to know an evaluation process anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like this will be for the people who want to delve.
So getting rid of that then.
Yep,
And then uh the I know this isn't included in polish necessarily, but in terms of maybe like a next step development is giving people the freedom. I mean, you have what's not exposed right now? Oh, right. It would be like chunk length and
yep,
stuff like that, right? So I think that's probably like the next phase of development here, probably
yep.
once you finish polishing, is like how do we give people that freedom and control to really be able to tweak
But
the
I figured
settings?
before we get to that, we needed the indicators to show whether it's working,
Oh
not
yeah,
working.
100%.
Because when you start doing the chunk information, that's when it's like you're going to be going up and down testing, and you
Yeah.
don't want to be guessing at that point.
Yeah,
Right now,
absolutely.
you can guess.
I
Yeah,
think to me the indicators are like we need to kind of have that before we release.
yeah,
So that's like a polish
yeah,
where the freedom and control to adjust all the variables and everything, that's like a next version. I don't know if we're at version 1 yet even, but like if it's
yeah.
version point 0.6, that would be point 0.7 or whatever,
Yeah,
or point 0.8.
to me, it's like when we get it where the average person can get on there, create a small database to use for knowledge base and readily, easily and like that. That's when the next version comes out or the next group of work, which is, as you said, the ability to go in and say, you know what, chunking should be, I want to try chunking at this for this piece of this file, or this group of knowledge bases and like that, and see if I get better results, those kind of things. And well, I was going somewhere with that in my head. Probably not nowhere.
Well, and that feeds into the eval, right?
Yeah,
Like once
exactly.
we
Yeah.
have all
Yep.
that, that's when we want to do the eval. But these are, I think once you've polished and have
Yep.
the indicators, like this is ready to go,
Yeah,
you
because
know?
these components afterwards, now even though the chunking will probably go into document processing, but at the end of the day, it's like this base is almost finished once we finish this little light work that we have to clean up.
And it's
Because
under
it,
your, right now we want to give you the freedom and control to change everything. But right now we have basically a chat GPT or a Claude projects, because they're not allowing you to change those things in the
yeah,
interface. But with a big difference is that it's under your ownership and control. So that's a big deal. And this is really exciting. So
yeah, and you
here's
can put secret information inside yours here, where it's like you might have company information that you don't want to expose to the outside world, or health information, tax information. It's those kind of things that it's like. I mean, there's articles, top 5 things to not share with ChatGPT. That doesn't exist with a local system. You can
yep.
do anything. If you have a secret diary of things your wife does wrong, you can put it here because you
If you
won't
have
ever
a
want to
secret
tell you.
diary of things your wife does wrong, you might need our therapist
Yeah.
plugin that we'll develop eventually. Uh,
Probably
all
so.
right. So here's our foundational items. You need to be able to install it.
Yep.
We have that via the command line. We've battle tested that.
Yep.
We have a V1 or a beta version of a Windows installer. Navaneeth, who's our other developer, is hopefully finishing up the Mac for us on that. And then we still want to do Docker.
Yep. I've
But
started working on the Docker as far as accumulating the plan for what it's going to take to pull it off. So that should be coming near future though, because that's a good little side project that doesn't involve coding. That's like if I
okay.
got.
So finishing up, we have
Yep.
some work to do to finish up on the install. Chat interface, at least for a V1 0 to
Yep.
1 is done. Local models we run with Olama right now, but you can, if you don't like Olama, we know a lot of people don't. We encourage you to visit our plugin development quick start guide, use the Olama as a base, create your own plugin, and that should be very possible right now,
Yep.
right?
Yes.
So that's great for API-based models. We went with OpenRouter as the default, but again, if you want to not use OpenRouter, just look at that plugin, point your AI coder at it, and go to town. We'd love it if you'd share that plugin if you decide to build it in the community at
Yep.
community.brainDrive.ai, but there's no obligation to do that if you want to keep it private to yourself. We have our personas. So that's our system prompts, and we have our first plugin, which is about finding your why. That is in the
Yep.
plugin marketplace. Is it? I need to put it in the plugin marketplace.
I do
um,
not know because
yeah,
that's
no, it's
been
not in
yeah.
yet. It's not quite there yet. So
Mhm.
I want to do a little testing and tweaking on that.
Mhm.
But again, we're talking about going from 0 to 1, from not
Yeah.
having this stuff to having it, and we do have that CAG, context augmented generation, the ability to upload and parse a document and chat with that document in
Yep.
BrainDrive is done. The RAG, that's what we talked about today. So we have that now for Linux, Mac, and Windows. We need to polish that a little bit, and then we'll be done with that. Page Builder is done. The plugin system that allows all this stuff to come together. Everything you've seen here today, including the RAG system that Dave showed you, is built with the same plugin system
Yep.
that everyone has access to.
Yep.
We're not building on something special with BrainDrive and then giving something else to the community. It's all MIT licensed, the same system. Documentation, that's another thing I need to do for RAG is put the documentation together with that, but we do have pretty good documentation on everything now. Training, this was once the RAG system is ready and we have an easy install. I've got the rest of the initial training done for all this stuff, so we'll be ready to go. So we're getting really close here.
Yep.
And two things that we don't really need for like our full, beta release is BrainDrive Concierge, which Navaneeth is working on, that will help BrainDrive owners build on top of their BrainDrive using a BrainDrive specific AI coding tool. Hopefully, we'll have some good progress to show on that shortly. And then managed hosting for people who don't want to host locally on their computer, but still want to have ownership and control over their AI system, offering them an easy hosted way to do that where there's no lock in. They can move local at any time if they want to. They can move to another host if they want to. That's something we want to be able to offer people. So we're nipping at the heels of this thing
Yep.
now, and it's exciting. Anything else that you wanted to talk about today, Dave?
No, that's pretty good. It was like, because hey, we've been doing RAG for basically a month, or at least in my head, a solid month of
Yeah.
let's get this done, let's knock this out, and I'm just happy to finally be on the cusp of success with that. Just you have to clean up a little things. Let's dot some I's, cross some T's. I'd love to see next week. We kind of polish all that up, be able to show that off at the very least, and then we can move into some of those more exciting grunt work topics that we have, like logging,
Yep.
and such like that. So I'm happy to see it.
Awesome. Well, we'll leave it there for this week. As we talked about at the beginning of the call, our mission here at BrainDrive is to build a superior user-owned AI system to big tech AI systems. We do these calls every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, live stream on YouTube. So we encourage you to join us live. We encourage all participation there from the community. We also post the recordings for these over at our community forums at community.braindrive.ai. So we'd love it if you participate there as well. And with that, we'll see you next week.
Have a good one.